is informed by data analytics and AI, and that multiple services can be layered, and if they're governed properly, can bring a lot of benefit to the citizen. Now, the second thing that I'd like to talk about as we're evolving this octopus almost of partnerships and services is that we need to make sure that what we do is human-centered. That the excitement about data and AI, as much as I, as a geek, love it, should not overwhelm the way we approach these things. So let's think about something together. We want to look after our elderly. Singapore has the world's third fastest aging population. So what should we do? Now, the old way of doing smart cities would be, let's put in a remote monitoring system. Let's put it so that we know they fell down. Let's put it if we know that, whether they are unwell or not. And this is very important, by the way, that this should be there. But in the old days, one would kind of stop here. That's not the right way to do it. Actually, the right question we should be asking is, what are the problems that the elderly face? Let's start not from the technology and AI, let's start from them. And the three biggest problems that people have told me they face in Singapore are injuries, so it is important to have a safe, smart home, loneliness, and car accidents, or traffic accidents. So now let's go back to dealing with these things. So for injuries, we have HDB smart-enabled homes that we're building, and the majority of Singapore lives in HDB housing. There's an elderly monitoring system, and there are sensors in the home that alert your family if you've been injured or if there's any other problem, and you can reach out to a doctor. They're safe for the elderly to move around in so that they don't slip and they don't injure themselves. But it's more than that. Other things are also happening. We are building intergenerational playgrounds. This is an example of a childcare center in a nursing home. What is the point of a smart home when you step out and you're isolated from the city? But when you step out and you've been okay, you haven't been injured, and you step out and you're in a playground and there are children and people, now that reduces your loneliness. Now you're going to live longer. Now you're going to be happier. And for that you need sociologists to give you that kind of information. And then of course you want to be car light. We know that Khanna, which is Singapore's 24th HDB, is going to be a forest town. And these are some of the renderings. It's going to be green, sustainable, smart, and it's going to be car light. And in it, what are the people doing? So this is the kind of digitization of the service itself. The Singapore government is working on a Moments of Life app, which if you are a citizen over 60 or you have children under 7, you can download. And it's supposed to give you all your personalized needs and services on the app. So for example, key features are, what are the active aging programs happening around me right now? What are the discounts? What are the government schemes that I'm eligible for? And of course, there are a lot of digital readiness schemes to educate the elderly on how to use this. This is human-centered design. This is when you care about what people need and you personalize the services to them. And there's a lot of technology here. There's smart homes, there's driverless vehicles, there's integrated multi-use commercial and residential areas, but the team is interdisciplinary. There are AI people, they're engineers, they're architects, they're sociologists, they're lawyers, and I think there's a role for all of us to play in this smart city or smart nation which we're trying to build, and I think it's a great example for the rest of the world to look at as well. Now the last thing I want to talk about is, you're going to do all this, and you can't kind of approach it as the Wild West. If you're going to use data and AI, if you're going to have people like me building AI engines for people like citizens and you, well then you have to govern bodies such as myself. And Singapore has done that. We just won an award from the United Nations as one of the first countries that has put an ethical framework or an ethics guideline for governments and organizations. How do you govern AI so that there's less manipulation, so that there's data privacy, and also so that there's enhanced security of information and infrastructure? I can't emphasize enough that there is no technology that is not a double-edged sword. And so constantly, it's not a battle between good and evil. The person who, or the country that, or the city, the mayor that governs the best is the one who can provide the benefits without suffering the unintended consequences, and can really benefit from what some of the wonderful things we saw Autodesk doing as well. So you have to have an interdisciplinary approach. You have to personalize, but you must govern it so that it's done correctly. And now that I've talked about me and you and cities, I want to talk about your journey. Each one of us are citizens. And it's very easy to hear us talk, and you're professionals. It's very important, because professionals must empower themselves to learn the basics of AI. Otherwise, how will you take advantage of this opportunity? And more than that, how will you probe the biases that machines may have? I'll leave you with this picture. I have a charity. We teach girls coding and artificial intelligence. These are girls at Nian Polytechnic. They're only 18 to 20, and when they started, we asked them, you know, all this AI and data, have you been reading about it? They said, yeah, we've been reading about it, but we don't feel good about it. We don't know if we can participate in that future. And then 10 weeks, 3 hours every Saturday, we taught them the basics, we taught them how to connect the dots between business problems and AI solutions, and how to think about it critically and ethically. And you should see them. This is their graduation. Big smiles, confidence. If you start the journey, put in a little bit of work, I can assure you that not only will your career be much more sound, you will be much more confident, and you will do a better job of serving the countries and cities that you serve. And I think it's very important, because without professionals, technologists themselves cannot do this job. So I look forward to all of us working on smart cities and 2.0 and smart nation together. Thank you.